So, what is a station model? Well, this is a station model. But in order to understand all of this, you have to understand each of the about 10 things that it tells you about the weather. So, let's get started. So, a normal station model usually can tell you 10 things about the weather, and let's go in depth to each and every one of them. The first is temperature, which is expressed in degrees Fahrenheit, but you would not write the unit on the station model since it's already inferred. So if the temperature was 50 degrees Fahrenheit, you would just write 50 on the station model. Seems simple. Up next is visibility, which tells you how far in any direction you can see. So if it's cloudy, the visibility is less. If it's sunny and not that much fog, then the visibility is greater. Of course, units are dropped, so if you could see 4 miles in any direction, then the number 4 would just be written on the station model. Up next is present weather, which describes the current weather conditions, and there are 3 main symbols. There is a comma, which describes a drizzle. There is a dot, which describes rain, and a 6-pointed asterisk, which describes snow. These tell you the condition, but they don't tell you how much is it. So scientists created it this way. There would be one of each thing if it's light. If it was a moderate amount, for example, moderate drizzle, moderate rain, and moderate snow, then there would be 2. And if it was heavy, for example, heavy drizzle, heavy rain, and heavy snow, then there would be 3. There are also symbols for these conditions too. For smog, it is a vertical line and then a squiggly line. For fog, it is the equal sign. For sleet, it is a triangle with a dot inside, and for hail, it's just an empty triangle. For haze, it's 2 ovals that touch. And for freezing rain, it is a squiggly line with a dot. And this here is the symbol for thunder. If it is a thunderstorm with a drizzle, then there's a comma on top. If it is a thunderstorm with rain, then there is a dot. And if it is a thunderstorm with snow, then there is an asterisk. Up next is dew point, which is also expressed in degrees Fahrenheit. So if the dew point was 25 degrees Fahrenheit, on the station model you would drop the unit, so you just write 25. Up next is cloud cover, which tells you about what percent of the sky is covered with clouds. This goes in the center of your station model, and it is represented by this key of circles. So if it's clear skies, no clouds, then you would write an empty circle, which represents 0%. If it was like 10%, just a line down the middle would be sufficient. 25%, you would shade on a quarter of the circle. 40%, it would be a quarter and a straight line. 50%, it would be half the circle. 60%, it would be half the circle and a horizontal line. 75 would be 3/4 of the circle. 90% would be the whole circle shaded except for a small box in the middle, and 100% would be basically the whole circle shaded. Next is wind speed and direction, which uses something called the feathering system. And the feathering system is basically you have a small line and a large line. The large line is 10 miles per hour and the small line is 5 miles per hour. So let's say the wind is moving at 15 miles per hour. This would be your bar line, and then you would put a whole feather and a half feather, which means 15 miles per hour. Now, to represent speed, you would first take the cloud cover circle. Let's say it's 10% the cloud cover. Well, okay, that was wind speed. So before you draw that, you have to find that direction. Let's say the wind is blowing southwest. Imagine this as a compass, so north, south, east, west. Southwest would be here, and if it's blowing 15 miles per hour, you would put your whole feather and half feather. And this represents wind that is blowing 15 miles per hour to the southwest, and the cloud cover is 10%. So that's wind speed and direction. Up next is barometric pressure, and this one is represented in a weird way. So let's say you have a barometric pressure of 1027.4 millibars. In order to write that on a station model, you wouldn't write 1027.4 millibars. You'd have to do 3 steps. First, erase the units. By the way, there are no units on the millibars, so there are no miles per hour, there are no degrees Fahrenheit, so erase the units. Then you want to erase the front 2 digits, which will most likely be a 10, and then erase the decimal point. And this number, 274, is the number you would write on the station model. And in order to convert it back, you could do the same 3 steps. Write the unit, it's obviously millibars. You put the decimal point one place in, and you add a 10 at the beginning. Okay? And then there's also another group that relates to barometric pressure, and that would be barometric trend. And that number usually has either a plus or a minus. So if the pressure has risen in the past 3 hours, then there will be a plus in front of the number. If it has decreased, there would be a minus. And the number would be a 2-digit number, but that is not how many millibars it increased or decreased. You'd have to put a decimal point one placed in. So if the number was minus 19, that would mean the pressure has decreased by 1.9 millibars. The last aspect of a station model is precipitation, and this is expressed by number. So if the number is 1, that would mean that the precipitation would mean it would represent the precipitation, and it would represent that in the past 6 hours, so the barometric trend is in 3 hours, but this is in 6 hours. In the past 6 hours, there have been 1 inch of precipitation. So let's go back to the station model from earlier in the video. Now that we know the aspects and we know how to read one, we know exactly the weather that this is trying to communicate to us. So this number up here, of course, it means the temperature, which is 28 degrees Fahrenheit. This section down here represents the visibility in present weather, which means it's 1/2 miles is the visibility, so you could see 1/2 in any direction. And the present weather is snow, which means it is currently snowing. Under that is a number 27, which represents the dew point. So the dew point is 27 degrees Fahrenheit. And then going to the middle, we see the cloud cover symbol, which means the cloud cover, it's colored in 3/4, so the cloud cover is 75%. And down here is the feather system. It's pointing to the bottom left, and which means it's going southwest, and there's a whole feather and a half feather, which means the speed is 15 miles per hour. Up here is 196, which represents the barometric pressure. Of course, that doesn't mean the barometric pressure is 196 millibars. It means the barometric pressure is 1019.6 millibars. And that is the barometric trend, which means it has increased by 1.9 millibars over the past 3 hours. And the last number, 0.25, is the precipitation, which means the precipitation increased by 1/4 of an inch in the past 6 hours. And that is all you need to know for a station model. Be sure to remember the way to convert this number into the correct pressure, and that there are no units. So no miles per hour, no degrees Fahrenheit, and no millibars found on the station model. So thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And there's a new email. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or video suggestions, be sure to email letslearnsomstuff1234@gmail.com. And there's a Twitter handle. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. It's at stuff_learn to get the newest announcements on any video that you need to learn about. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching and see you later. Goodbye.